first thing we see in the new trailer is that Claudio's forward 2 1+2 has new properties. The wall bounce that Geese gets off of his back 2 is now being shared around the cast. I'll share my thoughts on the wall bounce in a minute. Right now I'm just going to break down the individual moves. Currently the string knocks down, wall splats, and activates Starburst. It's a natural combo. It can be accessed from crouch with down forward 2 1+2, and it's -13 on block. It's a pretty big if, but if we are to assume that all of these properties stay the same, Claudio is going to have a very scary long range mid at the wall, and this will also strengthen his forward 2-2 and his full crouch down forward 2-2, as it's a high that gives big frame advantage on hit and block, and it forces crouch. The next thing we get is confirmation that new extensions are going to be added to strings in the game. At the moment, the only extensions Claudio has off of his back 4 is back 4-3 and back 4-2. This new string, probably back 4-1 as it's performed with the left hand, can be used to screw in combos, and looks like it's probably a high, but there's not much more we can say than that. The next move we see gaining wall bounce properties is King's back 4, and his back turned 3 has been given extra float properties in order to be able to convert off of the wall bounce. This could be seen as a pretty massive buff to a very useless move, seeing as King's back 4 is currently a high that's launch punishable on block and doesn't even wall splat. Lars is now able to transition in between dynamic entry and silent entry without performing a move. There could be some exciting potential there. Gigas has a new extension off of his while standing 4, probably while standing 4-2 as it comes off of his right hand. It looks like it's going to do a lot of damage and maybe even floor break. While standing 4 right now is 13 frames, and they show it punishing Leo's quarter circle forward 1, which is -13, so I assume the speed hasn't changed. I'm actually a very big fan of this change because it felt to me like a chunky mid-level while standing punisher was the one thing missing to make Gigas a true block punishment character. It appears Eliza is now able to chain her DP2 into a bloody drive when she has 2 full meters. Eliza already had access to a 10 frame launcher with 2 meters, but it was exceptionally hard, and this will both buff the damage and the viability of a full 10 frame launcher with a full meter. It looks like Heihachi now gets a guaranteed launch off of his punch parry. That's going to hurt a lot. Bob can now transition into his roly-poly stance after his up forward 1+2, and I'm going to need your guys' help with this one because I can't see a single reason why that would be useful. Probably the craziest thing we saw was Steve's new rage drive. Sonic Fang is currently a 13 frame mid block punisher and whiff punisher. If this rage drive is 13 frames, then it's going to be ridiculous. It's possible, but hard to imagine that it will even be punishable on block, and so a 13 frame safe massive damage launcher is most likely and terrifying. It's of course worth noting that this is the only new rage drive we've seen. It might be the only new one, it might not. There's nothing much we can really say about that. And on the subject of Steve, while yes, his rage drive sucks at the moment, he's really not a character I would have thought needed a buff. So hopefully there are more new rage drives on the way. And the last new thing we saw before the character reveals was another wall bounce given to Brian's quarter circle forward 1+2. I don't really want to comment on the fact that he does a blue spark Mac punch afterwards, because I'm really not sure if the wall bounce gives him access to this move or whether they just wanted a bit of hype for the last clip before a counter announcement. Honestly, it would be a bit weird if doing a quarter circle forward 1+2 near the wall gave him access to his taunt moves, because there isn't a taunt, obviously. Let's move on. Much like the other moves that have been given a wall bounce property, quarter circle forward 1+2 for Brian is currently almost never used outside of rage drive combos. At the moment it's a mid knockdown and wall splat, but once again it's unsafe at -12. And I'm starting to see a bit of a picture forming here, so I'm going to share my thoughts and my speculation, I guess, on the wall bounce mechanic and how I think it's going to affect the game now. As I mentioned before, this mechanic is already in the game. Geese is back 2 wall bounces. This is what the animation of the knockdown in the open looks like right now. When at the right range, you can get a couple of hits in to resplat at the wall and then get your combo. but most characters can already get combos off of a heavy wall splat with a backdash or a sidestep. I of course have to mention that the way that Geese's works might not necessarily affect the way that the new wall bounces are going to work, but I have to believe that they put this in to trial the system, and as you can see, the wall bounce doesn't work mid-combo, or at least not just after the screw. Geese's back 2 is actually too slow to test whether it works airborne. So considering that we haven't seen any evidence or implication that wall bounces are going to work airborne or mid-combo, for now I'm just going to assume that that's not going to be a thing, and that these death combos that we've been worried about can hopefully still stay in combo videos only. So really it seems like off of a side wall is when this can be the most dangerous, as you're going to be able to fairly easily convert for a full combo. So I tested this, and as you're going to be able to see here, there's actually pretty inconsistent results on a sidewall when using Geese's back 2 for the wall bounce. Damn indeed. Remember that at the moment this can only be speculation, but I hope that you find my predictions soothing and not boring. However, I just don't really think the wall bounce mechanic is going to be some massive game changer. Geese's back 2 is actually only -3 on block, which is pretty nice, but it's just not a very good move, so it isn't used. And all of the moves that we've seen this mechanic be given to so far are not only currently not very good moves, they're also punishable. And if they decide to do something truly ridiculous like giving Paul's Death Fist wall bounce properties, then, you know, Soul Calibur 6 is on the way. Thanks very much for watching everyone. I hope you enjoyed my analysis and speculation on the new moves and mechanics for Tekken Season 2. In my opinion, Steve's Rage Drive is much more terrifying than the wall bounce, but I guess we'll just have to wait and find out together. As always, like, comment and subscribe, and I'll be back soon.